Okay, hey everybody, welcome to First Down Thailand. Today, I'm lucky enough to be joined by offensive coordinator coach Alex Balogh from Carleton College up in Northfield, Minnesota. Welcome, coach.
Thank you very much, Tawana. Really appreciate you having me on and looking forward to our conversation today.
All right, coach. So, coach, I know the season's about to start with the first game against UW Whitewater coming up on September 6th, but I'm sure you still have your hands full with camps, showcases, recruiting. So, my first question is that what high school classes or transfers are you prioritizing now?
Yeah, so we're really focused on the class of 2026 right now. We finish up each class around January 15th. So like 2025s, we were done around January 15th. Now we're on 2026s. We'll be on them until about January 15th or until our class wraps up. Being a super high academic school, different high academic colleges have different rules or admissions opinions on transfers. So I've been places where we could do some transfer deals. For us at Carleton, we can't. So I don't even have a transfer portal login. That's just not a part of what we do. So it's just solely focused on class of 2026 high school recruits. That's where we're locked in.
Wow, that's great to hear for many of the 2026 recruits and 2027 recruits as well. So, my next question is, how would you describe your coaching philosophy?
Yes. So I believe my philosophy and the philosophy of all of our coaches at Carleton, which is why Coach Chanel brought me on a year and a half ago, or about at this point, is we see ourselves as educators just as much as any other professor or staff on campus. Our job is to the football field is the largest classroom on campus. And so it's trying to take 80 to 85 guys, that's about our roster size, and try to make them into the best people, best students, best athletes they can be, and prepare them for the next 40 years during the 4 years that we have them. And so, it's never going to be about berating a player or making a player feel lesser than. It's all about empowering and educating. As long as they're giving us perfect effort, a perfect attitude, and perfect focus, then most of their mistakes are either going to be because I didn't coach it well enough or because they haven't repped it enough, right? So
Yeah.
it's all about educating, it's all about empowering.
Thank you. And about evaluating recruits. So, what do you prioritize when you evaluate them? Do you look at their stats on the field, their grades off the field? What do you prioritize?
Yes. So for us, we won't even recruit somebody if they do not meet our academic thresholds. So I I won't make first contact if they don't have our minimum GPA requirements, which there's some gray area, depends on the school, right? If you're going to one of the top schools in the country, the best school in your state, then okay, the GPA requirement might drop slightly, but not that much. And so there's a little gray area, but basically, if they meet this GPA requirement, okay, that's someone I should reach out to. And then even with the right GPA, if they're not taking the right courses, so if they're not taking AP classes, honor classes, IB classes. Really, it just depends on the school. You have to be taking the hardest classes your school offers. So if that school doesn't offer APs and they offer dual enrollment, then dual enrollment might be the hardest classes, and that's what we'd be looking for. Um, and so, okay, they meet the GPA requirement. Do they meet the rigor that we're also looking for? Are they taking the right classes? Is their class rank where it needs to be? Okay, once those boxes are all checked, now I can finally watch the film. All right. And so that does narrow our scope. Whether that's a good or bad thing, right? Like we get to be laser focused on, okay, there are these recruits that meet our academic requirements. We got to focus on these guys. Um, and so it starts with academics, then it goes to football. Stats, I mean, yeah, sometimes the guy has some crazy stats and they pop, and then it's like, okay, that's worth checking out and investigating more. But it really just comes down to the film evaluation. And then, you always love when you can see a guy in person. We went to, as a staff, I think like 80 plus camps this summer. Um, One, just to see guys and to be able to network and connect with those guys so that they could put a face to a name, meet us in person, helps us get them on campus, or if we've already had them on campus, just another touch point is always a good thing. But then also to be able to see guys and say like, okay, yeah, this guy he's a really, really good ball player and he's better than his film. Or this guy, maybe his film is slightly better than what his in-person evaluation was because throughout the US and throughout the world, the level of football varies so dramatically. And so being able to get eyes on people can be beneficial. But the number one thing when it comes to athletic evaluation is definitely going to be the film over a camp eval, over camp testing numbers. Film is the main thing.
Definitely. It's all about the effort both on and off the field, right?
Absolutely.
Yep. And so, what advice would you give to players, like players from non-traditional football schools? Maybe they're from like small towns, small cities, or maybe from a completely different country. Get on your college's program's radar.
Yes. So we've been in unique situations. We've had players on our team at Carleton that were from across the country. We had a player from Singapore. We had a player from China. We had a recruit that visited last year from Germany. We had a recruit that visited yesterday that was from Singapore as well.
Wow.
And so I think the number one thing you can do is be proactive in communication, but then also being realistic with who you're reaching out to, because there's only so many hours in the day, there's only so many messages you can send, and so understanding where you athletically fit is it can sometimes be a harsh conversation to have with yourself. It takes a lot of self-awareness where it's okay, am I a division one football player? Am I a division two football player? Am I a division three football player? Okay, division three, there's upper end division three, lower end division three. Like where do I go to within that pecking order, right? And then that kind of prioritizes what schools you should reach out to. And same with academics, right? If you're an elite academic student, okay, then reach out to those elite academic institutions. And so that would be my number one thing is just do a lot of research on the front end. What schools kind of fit my athletic and academic ability? Okay, let me really get in contact with those coaches and to the best of my ability, try to get in front of those coaches and express my interest because a lot of times, especially if you're from a small school or from a different country, like I talked about earlier, comparing you to other people where it's more of a known entity when it comes to the film, right? If I'm watching a guy that's playing 6A football in Texas, I know what that is. Like I know that versus okay, like I'm from Ohio and it's the inverse where it's like 7A is really, really small. If you're or seven division, I forget what it is now. They changed it since was in high school, but like seven was like the lowest when I was in high school. Well, if you didn't know Ohio football, you might be like, well, I don't know how good this film is,
Yeah.
right? And so being able to see that person in person at a camp, and so making sure you're making the right decisions when it goes to like, okay, these are the schools I want to go to or want to have a chance to go to. What camps will they be at where I can see 40 of these coaches all at the same camp and make the most bang for my buck in terms of the investment of travel and the camp fee and stuff like that.
Yeah, of course. I was really surprised you said Singapore because it's really close to Thailand as well.
Yeah. Yep.
And also, I want to ask, as it is a Division three school, I want to know what is the walk-on process like? Do many students go into football when they didn't get recruited?
A handful.
Mhm.
We we aren't one of those. We don't have a roster limit, and so we're never gonna. As long as they're a good person and they're a good cultural fit, we'll always take them and we'll coach them up and we'll treat them just like any other player on our team. We don't once they're on the team, they're no longer a walk-on.
Of course.
And so that's the way we look at that. We and while we don't have a roster limit, admissions gives us the certain number of people we can take every year. So it's kind of like a built-in roster limit, right, for us. But we'd always like more. And so, right, and that leads us to actually recruiting players that we want to apply, get in on their own, and join the team. And that's something we absolutely welcome. And that is kind of unique um, within the high academic Division three landscape because there are a number of teams that have an 85-man roster limit, or like at Division one now they have the 105-man roster limit. So there are those schools where there are roster limits. We luckily aren't one of them, so we can always, as long as you're a cultural fit, as long as you're a good person, we can always welcome you to the team. As long you're gonna work your butt off and try to get better every day, keep stacking.
Yeah, keep stacking. That's the slogan, right?
That is our slogan. Yes.
And now here's a very important question. How do you help players balance the demands of the quality academics with the intensity of your football program?
We, I think a lot of it comes down to Coach Journell having followed his son to Carleton. So because Coach Journell's son Mac was at Carleton and actually was a big reason why Coach Journell ended up coming to Carleton, they did a lot of constant communication and workshopping throughout those first few years when they were here together of making sure we had the right balance because academics comes first. Absolutely,
Of course.
100% of the time. If there's ever a conflict between football and academics, there isn't a conflict because academics is winning that every time. That said, I like a saying we have on our staff, we want guys that want to double major in physics and football, right?
Hmm.
We want people that want to be great in both. Um, and we truly believe that you can be, even on top of just being a great student and great athlete, a great person, a great student, and a great athlete. And so it takes a lot of effort. It takes a lot of really strong time management skills. But we really are efficient with our meetings. We're really efficient with our practice time. We make sure that we get guys in and out and keep to a consistent schedule as best as possible. And that way they're able to they're maximizing their time with us, but they're also having the most amount of time, free time. It's not really free time, you're studying with most of it, right?
Hmm.
But that way they can have the most amount of free time possible to study, to go to office hours, review sessions for tests, things like that. So it's really just about us being very efficient with our football time and them being efficient with their academic time.
That's amazing how you support your players. Yeah. And is there anything you want to say to the recruits that are considering Carleton football but unsure if they can balance football and studies or the Minnesota code?
Um, yeah, it's if our admissions team deems that you're capable of doing the work here at Carleton, there's nothing to worry about. Yes, you're gonna have moments of struggle. Yes, you're gonna be challenged, but that's what promotes growth. You've never no one's ever achieved anything of significance without going through some turbulent times. And so if you're someone that truly wants to be pushed, if you're someone that truly wants to be great, we always say, we want people that we don't want average. Average is not fun. Average is not good. We want people that want to succeed, exceed expectations. They're looking to be CEOs, CFOs, top neurosurgeons, top lawyers, things like that. That's what we want. And so if you're looking to be pushed to grow towards that academically and become the best player you can be, then Carleton should be a great fit for you. In terms of the Minnesota Cold, you just got to be prepared. Just like if you're preparing for a test, you got a big test coming up, or if you got a big game coming up, you're going to make sure you study and you're prepared going into it. Got to be prepared for the weather. Got to make sure you've got a real coat. Got to make sure you've got some real winter gloves and probably one of those like ski masks to for those really, really cold days. But it's really not too bad. You get used to it pretty quick.
You just gotta keep stacking, right?
Yep, keep stacking, 100%.
All right, so can I ask you some personal questions about your coaching career as well?
Yep, absolutely.
What's been the most rewarding moment of your coaching career, like by far?
Oh. Give me a second to think
Of course.
on that one.
Could be like someone you coach, someone you led to succeed.
Yeah, I I would say this last year, I'm going to focus on team goals more than anything.
Of course.
This last season, we played a game against Gustavus, a team that we hadn't beat since 1996, and managed to get it done in a really really good game. They're a great team, great program, and so just having our guys. When you haven't beaten a team for that long, there's always that glass ceiling that you have to until you beat them, they feel unbeatable, right? And so that was an awesome sensation and an awesome program moment to be able to take that next step within our conference, which the MIAC is one of the best conferences in college football. And so to be able to get that done was great. It was an awesome feeling after the game. That would be my number one, and then also prior to Carleton, being at Amherst College, Amherst Williams is a huge rivalry, and being able to come out on top my last year at Amherst was also a really fun feeling and was a great way to just leave those guys. That was my last game. I ended up actually coaching at Amherst, and so being able to send those guys off on a high note, because they were working their butts off, and they had a lot of ups and downs when we were there, in terms of record wise. But being able to send those seniors off, winning the big little game, that was pretty special too.
Yeah, of course. You've coached at Amherst and also Carleton, right? Correct?
I've coached at Amherst, Carleton, and then I went to grad school and coached at Case Western as well.
Case Western. That's a very strong academic school as well, right?
Yep. Yes, it is. I've got I for me, it's important that I work at schools that align with my values of building better people, better students, better athletes. And so I try to, find schools, and schools tend to try to, it goes both ways, right? Like I fit what the schools and coaching staff are looking for. They fit what I'm looking for in terms of elite academics, elite athletics, where they believe you can do both and compete at a high level in both.
Right. So, who are some of the players you've coached or worked with that went to the NFL, or not specifically went to the NFL, or just that they succeeded in life?
Went to the NFL. I've had a couple guys that I've coached or been around that have gotten close. No one necessarily, has made it. So Intensa Bono was a heck of a player that I coached this last year here at Carleton. Got invited to a couple of senior bowl type deals, a bunch of pro days. Heck of a player, heck of a person, um, heck of a student. Just he's one of those personalities that everyone just gravitates towards, and just an awesome human. And then I only was able to coach Noah Coyne his freshman year, but I was his JV offensive coordinator and actually went to the same high school as him. And
Oh,
I think this current year, oh, you're gonna hear my dog bark in here for a second. Noah Coyne, he I coached him his freshman year on the JV team and was the offensive coordinator for them. And I'm going to shut the door so my dog doesn't keep barking in the background here. But he just was a really special player, really tall, long athlete that made a bunch of big plays. Even his freshman year, I could tell he was going to be special. And so he got invited to a bunch of things this summer. I'm not sure exactly what. Um, but those would be the two guys that probably made it the furthest in terms of closest to achieving their professional football goals from my off the top of my memory.
of course. And if you could give one piece of advice to young athletes dreaming of playing college football, wherever they may be, what would it be? Just one piece of advice.
Just keep stacking, just keep getting better every day. As a student, as a person, as an athlete, success isn't linear. And so you're not just going to constantly, keep stacking doesn't just mean that you're just going to get better every day. You're trying to get better every day, but like I said, success isn't linear. There's going to be days where you take a step back and you have to use those failures, those momentary failures, as springboards towards future success, and not wallow um, in any momentary setback. And so that would be what I'd say is just continue to get better, continue to find ways to get closer to achieving your dream, never give up, and I'm sure you'll achieve everything you're trying to.
That's amazing. That's all my questions for today. Thank you so much, Coach Balogh, for your time. I'm sure all the recruits watching appreciate your answers very much. This is it for Q&A with Carleton College Offensive Coordinator, Coach Alexander Balogh. If you want me to interview anyone else, be sure to let me know. Thanks for watching, and this is First Down Thailand.